My name is Jennifer Chin. Ever since I was a little girl, I've been fascinated by money, not for the sake of being rich, but because I loved the idea of understanding how it all worked. While other kids played with dolls or dreamed of becoming doctors, I spent my time reading about the stock market. I'd sit on the floor of my room surrounded by books and newspaper clippings, highlighting words I didn't understand and looking them up later. My parents were kind and supportive, but they often looked at me like I was a puzzle they couldn't quite solve. "Sweetie," my mom would say gently, "maybe you should go outside, play with your friends a little." "I'm having fun, Mom," I'd reply with a smile. "Did you know Warren Buffett bought his first stock at age 11? She'd laugh and shake her head. "Just promise me you won't forget to live while you build your empire." At the time, I promised, but as I grew older, it got harder to keep that promise. My passion for investing became more than a hobby. I started using my allowance and birthday money to invest small amounts. By the time I turned 16, I had my own little portfolio, and it was growing. Getting a full scholarship to Harvard to study finance felt like the universe confirming I was on the right path. It was there, during finals week in the library, that I met Michael. He was charming, smart, and studying business administration. We both reached for the same economics textbook and smiled at each other. "Ladies first," he said. "Thanks, I'm Jennifer." "Michael, want to study together?" One study session turned into daily coffee dates, then it turned into love. Michael admired my drive. He'd listen to me talk about stocks and market trends and tell me I was going to rule the business world someday. But what he didn't know was that I had no intention of working for someone else. I had my own plans. I kept building my portfolio while I studied. By graduation, I'd made millions through careful, quiet investments. I didn't tell anyone, not even Michael. I wanted people to see me for who I was, not what I owned. After graduation, Michael got a great job at a tech company called Sterling Industries. I turned down several job offers and chose to work independently, managing investments. Michael didn't quite understand. "These are dream jobs," he said one night, confused. "You're just going to freelance?" "I have a plan," I told him with a smile. "Just trust me." A year later, we got married. It was a small, simple wedding. Michael's mother, Patricia, never really warmed up to me. She didn't like my job, or the fact that I didn't have a normal career. "Investment consultant," she said one day, raising an eyebrow. "Is that even a real job?" I just smiled. What she didn't know was that by then, I was one of the largest shareholders in Sterling Industries. I had quietly bought up shares through different channels over several years. Even Michael didn't know. Michael worked under a man named James Wilson, a senior executive at Sterling. James was old-fashioned, arrogant, and believed women didn't belong in leadership. He'd make rude jokes at company parties about wives who thought they knew business. Michael would laugh nervously and stay quiet. It bothered me, but I didn't say anything, until one night. Sterling was hosting a big event to announce some major changes to the company. As a shareholder, I had every right to be there. "Are you sure you want to come?" Michael asked. "These things are boring." "I want to see where you work," I said, putting on a simple black dress and my grandmother's watch, the one I wore for every important moment in my life. The event was full of people in suits, holding champagne glasses and speaking in hushed, confident voices. Michael introduced me to James, who was surrounded by executives. "Jennifer, so nice to meet the wife," James said with a smirk. "We were just talking about the future of the company." "Cutting research to boost short-term profits?" I asked, pretending to be curious. "That seems risky." James laughed. "Oh, the little wife has business opinions?" People chuckled. Michael looked uncomfortable. "She reads the financial news," he said, trying to downplay it. "Honey, maybe we should get some drinks." James wasn't finished. He raised his voice and said, "This is exactly what's wrong with modern marriages. Housewives thinking they're experts because they read the Wall Street Journal." Just then, someone stepped forward from the crowd. It was Sarah Martinez, my private banker, and someone I trusted completely. "Actually, James," she said with a calm smile, "you might want to be a little more careful with your words." James frowned. "What's going on?" I turned to him and smiled. "Since you're so worried about shareholder value, you might be interested in a report I'm presenting at the board meeting on Monday." "Board meeting?" he barked. "What are you talking about?" That's when the CEO, Mr. Richards, stepped forward. "Jennifer Chin. JC Holdings," he said, his eyes lighting up. I thought that name sounded familiar. I nodded, surprise. Michael looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. What's happening? Sarah turned to the room. Jennifer owns 51% of Sterling Industries. She's been quietly building her stake for years. The room fell silent. Then voices started whispering. James turned red. Michael looked like he might pass out. This is ridiculous, James yelled. There must be some mistake. Sarah calmly opened her tablet. I have the documents if anyone wants to see them. Richards held up a hand. That won't be necessary. The board is well aware of Mrs. Chin's contributions. We've been using her recommendations for some time. Michael finally found his voice. You've been doing this for 5 years, but we've only been married for 3. I looked at him gently. I started investing in Sterling before I even met you. I saw a company that needed change. I saw potential. We moved to a private meeting upstairs in the CEO's office. The silence in the elevator was heavy. Michael looked shocked. James looked furious. Inside the office, James tried to argue. This is insane. She can't just. She can, Sarah said, placing the papers on the desk. And she does. I turned to James. The company needs to evolve. Cutting research is not the answer. Respecting people and encouraging innovation is. Mr. Richards smiled. Mrs. Chin has been one of our most insightful advisors. Her work speaks for itself. Michael looked at me, speechless. And I finally spoke the truth I had been holding in for years. I didn't build this to prove anything to you. I built it because I could, because I believed in something better. And now, they finally saw who I really was. Not the wife. Not the outsider. But the woman who owned the room. I looked at Michael, my husband, and asked quietly, why didn't you tell me? He looked away, uncomfortable. Would it have made a difference? He said, would you have defended me when James made those comments, if you knew I owned most of Sterling? He didn't need to say more. I saw the answer in his eyes. It would have changed everything, and he knew it. This is ridiculous, James shouted, standing up from his chair. I've given 15 years to this company. You can't just turn it into a place where real talent is pushed aside. I stepped in calmly. James, your so-called plan for the company would destroy it. The board doesn't support your proposal. Richards, another board member, added, actually, James, we need to talk about your future here. James looked shocked. My future? Yes, I said, standing tall. Your leadership is outdated. Your ideas are narrow-minded. And the way you treat people, especially women, is unacceptable. Sterling deserves better. You can't fire me, James shouted, red-faced. You're just a shareholder. Before I could answer, Sarah spoke up, cool and clear. She owns most of the company. Yes, she can. Michael sat frozen in his seat, saying nothing. Then, finally, he looked at me and said softly, you told me you were just consulting, that it was something small. I didn't lie, I replied, but I didn't tell you everything either. Would you have respected me if I had? James snapped again, pointing at me. She's tearing this company apart. Women like her. That's enough, Richard said sharply. You'll get your separation paperwork tomorrow. Please leave. James stormed out, slamming the door. Sarah followed, leaving me alone with Michael and Richards. Richards turned to me. Mrs. Chen, will you be more involved now? Yes, I said firmly, starting with fixing our company culture. Michael looked at me, his voice trembling. And what about us? I looked at him steadily. That depends. Can you finally see me as your equal, or am I still just your quiet little wife who you never let speak at events? I need time, he said, standing up suddenly. This is all, a lot. He walked out, leaving me behind. Richards cleared his throat. Family and business rarely mix well. I nodded. True, but that doesn't mean we should sacrifice our values. The next few days were chaotic. James's firing hit the news. Leadership shakeup at Sterling Industries. The stock dropped briefly, but soon recovered as people saw the changes I was making. I focused on rebuilding, encouraging innovation, improving work-life balance, and creating a workplace that actually supported people. Michael stayed with his parents. His mother, Patricia, left angry voicemails accusing me of ruining her son's career. I deleted them all. I had more important things to do. A week later, Michael showed up at my office. He looked tired, older, like someone who had spent a lot of time thinking. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I pointed to the chair across from my desk. He sat down, then stood up again, pacing. I've been thinking, he said, about everything, about work, about us. And? I asked. I was wrong, he said, his voice soft. I should have supported you. I should have stood up to James. I was too focused on fitting in, on impressing people, and I ignored what really matters. I nodded slowly. Words are easy, Michael. Real change shows in actions. Are you ready to treat me as your equal? He nodded. Yes, I want to. There was a pause. Then he added, but you kept things from me too. You didn't tell me about Sterling. How can we have a real marriage with secrets like that? You're right, I said. I should have told you. But ask yourself this, why didn't I feel safe enough to? He sat down again, running his hands through his hair. Because I made you feel small, he said quietly. Every time I laughed at James's jokes, every time I asked you to be quiet, I showed you I didn't respect you. The weeks that followed were hard. James tried to sue for wrongful termination. Some of his friends at the company talked behind my back. She's ruining everything, they whispered. This is what happens when women try to lead. But the results spoke for themselves. Employee happiness went up by 40%. Our R&D team filed a dozen new patents. The stock rose. The company was thriving. At home, Michael was stuck in limbo, sleeping in the guest room, unsure of how to act around me. His mother, Patricia, wasn't confused at all. One afternoon, she barged into our house, high heels clicking across the floor. We need to talk, she said, marching into the living room. Go ahead, I said calmly, closing the door. This power trip has gone on long enough, she snapped. You've made your point. Now step aside and let the men do business. I looked at her. You mean the same men who laughed at me, who ignored my ideas? That's how the world works, she said. Men have to. Have to what? I interrupted. Belittle women to feel strong, pretend competence doesn't matter if it comes from a woman? You tricked him, she shouted. My son thought he married a simple wife, not this. Michael's voice came from behind us. Mom. She turned to him. Thank God you're here. Talk some sense into her. But Michael was looking at me. Mom, he said quietly, leave. What? Now, he said, more firmly. After she left, the house went quiet. I heard everything, he said, and I finally get it. I've been treating you like a problem to manage instead of a partner to support. I'm sorry. I sat down next to him, still unsure. I didn't want to overpower you, I said. I just wanted to be respected. You are, he said softly, and I want to earn back your trust, not because of your power, because I love you, and I want to be better. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Jennifer, she said, James dropped the lawsuit, and our quarterly numbers are out. They're amazing. Send me the details, I said with a smile. Thanks, Sarah. Michael looked at me. Good news? Very, I replied. Turns out success is the best revenge. He chuckled. So, what now? With Sterling? With us? Sterling keeps growing. We're launching a mentorship program for women in tech, and a new parental leave policy. And us? I took a deep breath. That depends. Are you ready to build a real marriage? One where we're equals? I want to try, he said. Can I start by moving out of the guest room? My back is killing me. I laughed. Fine, but we need counseling, and you need to talk to your mother. Deal, he grinned. Although, maybe we should have dinner with her next week. I'd love to see her face when you tell her about your women's leadership initiative. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. Maybe this time, we'd get it right.